3, 2.
Hello,
and welcome back to...
What's safe word?
No, too fast. Hello, and welcome back to...
What's the safe word?
Too slow. Oh my god. This is our first time. We have to do this right, or else it's not going to be perfect, and then we won't be in love, and then it will be... Oh my god, I can't... Hello, and welcome back to...
What's safe word?
I'm Am.
I'm Mr. Christopher.
And today...
we're gonna act like it's our first time. Like a virgin. Touched for the very first time.
Sure, Jan.
Do you think you're pretty good at this?
Yeah, because I've done it a while. It's not my first time.
When you build a YouTube channel of over 300,000 subscribers where you talk about sex and ed as well as kink and a bunch of maybe first times that you've had, you get a lot of questions from people that have never done this stuff before.
Our viewers haven't done
Well, a lot of people find our channel because they put in a question and they say, how do you do bondage? How do you do fisting? How do you do insert thing? But along with that comes a lot of people who have never experienced or have never gotten into the kink community. And so today we are doing an episode all about advice for new kinksters.
and covering things that we wish we knew when we first started.
So while we'll have our own tips and tricks today, we posted online asking you guys for the questions that you always get when you're meeting new kinksters or when you first got involved. And today's first question comes from Funny Male Rainbow, and it says, most common is how to meet other kinksters, especially in the era where all social media and kinks seem to be botted as hell. So this is already
Botted. What does
Yeah.
botted mean? Like there's fake kinksters that are robots?
I think they mean online with the amount of bots that exist.
Uh-huh.
Like if you ever go into your mentions or your comments or your DMs, it's always a bunch of like spam bots and usually porn bots that are trying to like scam you for your money and whatnot.
Okay.
So like, how do people find community? Where do people meet other kinksters?
Well, I think events are a good place to meet because that's one-on-one and you can tell they're not a bot in person. Bars and socials are another good place. And then I also think online, even if you can get around the bots, that's how your generation meets each other.
Just so happens, along with this general asking for questions, we also put out a survey that we asked our community to fill out. And the first question was, how did you first get involved and find the kink community? So what do you think was the top answer for most people?
Online.
Yes, social media was the top one there with about 26% of that survey.
And that makes sense because your generation has grown up on social media.
From there, online websites like kink websites like Recon or FetLife was a really big one at about almost 20%.
Hookup sites.
From there, newsletters and email lists were an interesting like third spot, followed by munches, bars, dungeons, and parks and cruising down at the bottom. And of course, lots of people, thank you again, said, what's a safe word in other YouTube channels? So that's really kind. I love that when social media works.
Yeah.
We also alluded to an age. When did you get involved in the kink community?
1990.
That's not an age.
20.
But we also asked our surveyors what age they were when they first got involved in the kink community. Now, I think it'll surprise nobody that the top demographic is going to be like that 18 to 24 is when they got involved.
Actually, that surprises me, and I'll tell
Really?
you why.
Oh.
Because my generation did not get into the kink community until about 34 and on. So kink, for my generation, was a second coming out. I think your generation came out earlier than we ever did and was okay with kink quicker and faster.
I agree, and I would say that it's important to call out the variables within our survey, which is people that follow stuff online might not have seen this through word of mouth. So this is a very cultivated community
Younger.
of ours that's
Yeah.
probably younger, but also chronically online. That said, of our community, about 30% were 25 to 34 when they got involved. 6.4% were 35 to 44. About 2% were 45 to 54. And the margin of 65 and up people that started the kink community when they were 65 and up were
1%.
less than 1%.
And that is the 1% that watches our show.
So thank you for watching. Thank you so much. And just for some extra fun data, I also asked how engaged people were online versus offline in this day and age from a scale of 0 to 10. So 0 being fully offline and 10 being fully online. You'll find that on that graph that we're looking at, like the median is like around a 5 to 7 of more online than offline.
That tracks.
And that makes sense considering who we're asking.
That, and I think a lot of kink now is represented through media. A lot of people don't experience hands-on kink but they do get off on watching it with others.
I do have a question though, of the 1.3% of people that say they're fully offline. How did you do this survey?
That's a good point.
Liar!
Did you put it on a stone tablet?
Oh, that's right. Sorry. I sent it out. Noah was delivering it for me,
Noah.
you know, yeah, on the ark about
Moses.
Yeah, 40 or so years ago at least. And just to be, you know, safe, I like to be really thorough with our surveys. I asked, have you ever purchased something from a kink ad or kink branded content you saw on a social media? And 49.9% of you said, yes, you have. I need to get at least 0.1% more people. We need 50%, at least 50%. We need more engagement.
I've done it.
Okay,
Did I give you
have?
50?
Oh yes, thank you. Okay, amazing, great. But hey, if you'd like to add to this almost 50% of our audience that buys from kink ads, check out today's sponsor, Fume.
Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that's perfect for anyone who's looking to break away from some bad habits or just wanting something enjoyable to use. It's nicotine-free, non-toxic, and completely guilt-free. Now, flavored air isn't like vaping. If vapor was compared to sticky sodas, Fume's cores are closer to herbal teas. Fume has lots of delicious flavors to choose from, like crisp mint, orange vanilla, and with flavored air, you can satisfy your oral fixation, which I know a thing about, through a passive diffusion system that utilizes no electronics, vapor, or combustion. Even physiology shows stopping a bad habit cold turkey is hard for your brain, and Fume works by replacing your hand-to-mouth fixation, calming nervous tension, and distracting you from your bad habit with delicious flavors and just a little bit of fidgeting.
Oh, okay, no, the squishy bit.
With no batteries, no vapor, and nothing to charge, it's easy to use, safe anywhere, and looks amazing with a sleek, high-quality design that anyone can love unboxing. With refreshing flavors like mint that reminds you of an herbal tea, or just an orange vanilla that reminds you of your favorite dessert, Fume fills the void of that bad habit, but also helps to make a difference and promote wellness and better habits within your life, as well as being backed by doctors within the US.
Also, wait, watch this. Wet.
So switch it up and start a new habit for yourself or get a gift for one of your family members with Fume by heading to tryfume.com/Safeword and use code Safeword to get a free Fume topper when you order a journey pack. It's the perfect addition to make your gift even more special. It's something your favorite pup or kinkster can chew on. Again, go to tryfume.com/Safeword or just use the QR code on screen and join the over 500,000 people who have already made the switch to Fume as part of their daily habit change journey. Grab yours now, support the show, and try my favorite flavor, cinnamon.
Next in our questionnaire, Crovey says, where do I start? And so I think it's interesting to talk about where you find the kink community, but let's differentiate that with where did you get started when you first got involved?
I started by reading the only kink magazine I knew, which was Drummer Magazine. And then I met somebody that was in that magazine and they had a big network of BDSM friends. So I was very fortunate to do that, but it was being introduced to someone who was a kinkster.
Yeah, and going to something like a munch or a group, a gathering of some kind, like a munch is kind of like a potluck at a bar or a social gathering where you get to meet people in person. There's no play really happening. It's not like a dungeon where you're going to actively play, but it's kind of like dungeon adjacent where you're probably clothed, but maybe dressed in fun, kinky attire and meeting people. That is really the most valuable way to expand your kink circle. And where I also started as well, I found a Facebook group for puppy players in my area called CPA. Went to one of their bar events where it was just drinking and socializing, found tons of players there and actually got involved with that community and then started organizing events myself.
Seek out and find a kinkster into a kink that you want to explore and then go from there.
Which is why I ask people, in your own opinion, which social media is the best starter for kinksters?
That's such a difficult one because everyone uses social media differently.
Of course, they also consume information differently, and they might also just have certain hangups with certain platforms. So this is again in our community's opinion, but what do you think the top one was?
I'm gonna say either a hookup site or like Instagram.
In the opinion of our community, the top social media best for kinksters is, at least at this point in time, Bluesky with about 32%.
That tracks. It used to be Twitter, but there's been a big migration from Twitter to Bluesky.
I love that number 2 with almost 14% is Telegram.
Telegram, really?
I mean, I use Telegram daily to chat with kinksters and people that I'm active with in groups. So I'm not against that, but that's really surprising. At number 3 was Twitter/X.
Okay.
Not surprising.
Same as Bluesky.
Speaking of Discord, they're at number 4 with about 10.6%. And then right behind that was YouTube at 3.9% with a bunch of other like Twitch and Snapchat kind of further down. I'm not surprised by people using these social medias more prominently because I use most of them, but it is fascinating that Bluesky is so prominent. So if you're not on Bluesky, like follow us on Bluesky. But Bluesky is kind of like Twitter minus the algorithms, the bots, the spam. But what about us? What is our choices? Mine's probably gonna be Bluesky currently, and YouTube. Like I enjoy YouTube, but like Bluesky is the best for sharing information, pictures, videos, and finding other people.
I actually use Bluesky, Instagram, and Recon. Instagram because there's a lot of people, I'm into the full leather vibe and stuff, so they are able to post those pictures.
And of course, Instagram at about 2.3%.
2.3%.
Instagram's pretty sex negative in a lot of ways. I've lost 3 accounts on Instagram, and I've always followed the rules, okay? This is what social media does. They build the backs on sex workers, sexy content, things that are more salacious, and then the second that they can create a terms of service that is both marketable but profitable and then go big, they tend to cut that, large audience of sex workers and people who are making sexy content.
That's happened to both of us.
Yeah.
I do like Instagram because if you do curate your pictures so you're not showing butthole and huge bulges, you get to know who the person is. I think it's a better place to see all aspects of their life.
And whose bulge are you talking about? I was told I was looking thick. But I think it's an interesting look at the data there, and don't forget to follow us on Bluesky. Next question. Forrest Fang says one of the top questions they get are, what are limits? What are limits?
Limits is how far you will go before it's too much for you.
Limits are those things, that line in the sand where you're like, I don't want to go over there. That's too far. But there are soft limits and hard limits. Soft limits are kind of the things that you are willing to explore given the right circumstances, where hard limits are like, no. For me, hard limits, usually fisting, blood, permanent marks, because I bruise easy, and non-consensual things. Like that's my hard limit. What about you?
My hard limits are, it used to be slapping my face, but now that turned out to be a soft limit, so that's not a hard limit anymore. Pulling my hair is a hard limit. Don't even think about it.
I was just going up to touch my hair like that. I was doing like the fawns, You did demonstrate something there where hard limits and soft limits are absolutely able to ebb and flow and change. They don't change generally during a scene, but it's something to have a conversation with a person you're connecting with that you get to do that kink with. I will say when I first got involved in the community, I knew what I liked, I knew what I definitely didn't like, but there was that gray area. But I asked our community if they knew what limits were when they first got involved. I love that yes had like 38.6%, no, fair had 15.1%, but the kinda. I wanted to put like a maybe, like everyone enters in and kind of has a general idea, but about half our community says that they didn't really totally fully know what limits were, and I think that that's fair, real, and very honest of you. How vulnerable.
I think that's where I was. I kind of knew that, but I never advocated for myself. It took me a few years to get over that.
And that's how you get hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how you do something you definitely shouldn't, or you do something stupid, and we've been there, but we try our best to tell our stories so that you don't go there as well. And I think a lot of people get that frenzy when they first get involved, where they think that this is the only chance, the only time it's ever gonna happen. No.
Well, especially subs, they want to please. So I think a lot of subs don't stand up for themselves when it's too much. And that's unfortunate because they really need to.
If you get in a car and someone's driving, you don't give them directions and you say, let's go to this place. Next in questions that people usually get when they enter the community, Little Witch says, I usually get the what cage/toy should I buy? What hypnophile should I listen to? Although you'd often think that just a simple Google search would give you that information, where do you start? How do you find gear? How do you find toys? Like, where did you first start shopping?
Oh, well, I think I just started at a leather store and bought my first piece of leather that I thought looked good on me. And then I needed restraints, so I got some restraints. And then I got into impact play, and so I got some pedals and some floggers.
Okay, you make it seem so simple. Yeah, no, but not everybody enters with a bunch of disposable income. The very first kink event that I ever went to when I first got involved, they had a leather swap meet where people would bring a bunch of old gear or people would just come to purchase that old, lightly used or heavily used gear. And I got my very first piece of gear, which I still have today. This leather jacket, which I got from that said event in Vancouver, Canada. Like I'd bought jock straps and little things, but this is the first piece of like big gear that I ever purchased. How much do you think I got at the leather swap meet? Again, probably about 15 years ago.
$50.
Ooh, $40 for this.
It is a like quintessential biker's jacket. It makes you look tough.
Makes you look tough.
Well, Some people need all the help they can get.
Obviously, the standard answers we can align with. I've absolutely created stuff for myself and gear for myself when I first got involved because it's easier, maybe cheaper. But lots of people said Mr. S Leather. Lots of people said like Stockroom. Too many people said Temu, Wish, and Alibaba, and I'm very concerned about you guys.
Yeah.
Unspecific to just like wearable gear, the first rope I ever bought was from a Home Depot. I got it measured, I cut it, I finished the edges. But hand-me-down gear is some of the night. This has been something that I've worn to many a gear night I've had for years. This was in a few stage shows in San Francisco because somebody needed like a leather jacket that looked like the Terminator.
It was modded.
It's been worn by you when you've forgotten gear. This has been worn by so many different people that have just like come to visit me and didn't have the right gear for a thing. And that kind of makes it the most special. That, and when I first bought it, I reached in here and I was like, ooh, a pocket. Pulled out condoms that were still good, used one of them that night. It was really
I don't know
good.
if they were still good, but...
The dates said they were fine.
Gear is collected over time, so don't be stressed out that you don't have any right now. You will.
I'm concerned for the person who said Spencer's.
You can get a really good pair of fuzzy cuffs there. What?
And a fun mention, secondskin.co.uk, which is kind of like an eBay, but for kink gear.
Yeah, I've actually bought things from Second Skin before. It is, the only problem with it is UK based, so the shipping is kind of expensive now. But there's a lot of people who recycle their gear on Second Skin.
So if you want us to try out Second Skin, let us know down in the comments. That's actually a shop we've never tried before on the channel.
Oh, actually, that'd be a good episode.
Which led me to a follow-up question in our survey that asked people what an affordable price for something that was wearable, not toy you can like use on someone, but something that you can wear. What would you say was an affordable price point to our audience?
Well, that's going to be relative to everyone's income level. A basic harness you could get for $60 to $80.
The largest demographic of people said about $50 to $100 was an affordable piece of wearable gear.
Okay.
That's a pretty simple harness, maybe even like a $50 secondhand jacket, but you're definitely not going to get a full look with that. Honestly, the most affordable way you can look the part is by being confident and just having the right stance and stature. Like, yes, this jacket adds a lot of tude, but I mean, remove the jacket and I'm just as sexy, right?
Seriously, just the right t-shirt will make you fit in.
At safewordshop.com. The second demographic there being $25 to $50 was affordable, and then the third being $100 to $250. And to pull up the rear is things you might want to put in your rear. What was an affordable price for a toy or a piece of gear that is used to administer play?
So an ass toy, you could get a decent plug between 20 and 30. Impact play, you can get a good paddle between 10 and 30.
You'd be right on the money again, quite literally. Most people said that $25 to $50 was an affordable price point for a piece of gear. Could be a butt toy, a little flogger, some sort of cuffs, hopefully not fuzzy. Second place was going to be $50 to $100. And third place, I don't know where you guys are getting your toys for less than 25 on the large scale, but almost 10% of you guys are buying stuff from Wish or maybe Temu or...
See, I don't know if I would play with you because it's going to break and I don't want it to break during a scene.
More than anything, we just don't want you to get stuff that's going to be bad for your health or unsafe to use. As you said, maybe it breaks, falls apart. We never want that in our
But it also looks cheap. You don't want to look cheap.
You also don't want to sound like a bird.
Cheap, cheap, cheap.
Oh, it's too hot in here for this jacket. Let's get to the next question from Nocta, who says, how do you learn how to use rope? I think that's a very good and basic entry-level question.
So there's lots of tutorials online. What's the safe word? We have them on YouTube. And then lots of rope masters go around to cities and they have different rope classes. You just have to find out where those are and, you know, pay the money and go learn.
And while rope can get a little complicated, we actually asked you guys in that survey for what sites or resources do you go to for your favorite kink education? And we said specifically not to say what's a safe word. We want to know where else you guys go. You guys said Recon as a dating app and a kinky resource. They also do a lot of educational classes and online editorials for kink stuff.
Yeah, Dan Savage has always been a good resource and advocate of kinky things.
And one of your top sources here, as well as The Dildorks, a wonderful sex education podcast. Kink, KYNK101.com has tons of free resources and all things kink, which I had never heard of.
I haven't either.
If you're looking for rope-specific tutorials, The Dutchie was really good, and we've used them before, as well as crash/restraint.com. an amazing rope website I had never heard of. It is a little bit more not safe for work. They show some graphic videos, but it's all very step by step, and they allow you to like create a profile and log in so you can like save certain resources, or you can see the more sexual stuff.
Oh, that's good. But what about porn?
Some people did say, I guess, Pornhub and or other sex and porn that they've watched online, kink.com for instance, but most of it was creators, podcasters, or people that have websites where they prominently promote their content.
That makes sense because these podcasters and stuff, they're literally educating you, where porn is just trying to arouse you. So it's not the best education. It may be hot to watch, but you don't know what the limits of these people playing really are. And porn was very good when the AIDS crisis hit in teaching people to wear condoms and to have safe sex and making it sexy. So it can be an educator as well.
The next question that comes from Dragon Spirit Knight says, how do you approach kink with your partner? I think that is one of the biggest and most frequent questions we get, whether it's introducing a new kink, whether it's just getting a partner introduced to the kink community in general. How would you introduce a new partner?
I would dress up in my fetish right when they were walking home from a very busy, stressful day and go, spank me, spank me. Right to the point. I'm kidding. I think that if you are very upfront and clear and communicate and say, this is something that turns me on and I'd love to do it with you. However, if you're not into it, I get that. And I will just fantasize about it myself.
What if that's not enough? I want to be real about that.
Well, give them a day or two to decide if it's...
No, that's a great
Let
tip.
them sit on it.
That's a great tip because no, obviously in sex, no means no.
No.
But no can change as people get more comfortable with something, as they get more educated.
And they might not be into it. And that's okay.
But that will change your dynamic possibly. You have to be ready for that answer.
Because then you're in a kink discordant relationship.
And that's a whole other episode.
Yeah.
That said, we also asked you guys in the survey when you are likely to bring up kink to a new partner.
You don't want to scare them right off, especially if your kink is extreme. But you do want to be honest up front so you're not wasting their time either.
Well, most people disagree with you.
Of course they do.
In our survey, the top result was within the first week or the first date, like as that segment. Okay. Right behind that was right away, being very upfront, which is how I generally roll.
Okay.
And then in third place was within the first month or first couple dates, which I think is realistic. I think that's very realistic.
I think that's what I'm saying, in the first couple months. So.
I think you're realistic, but you are not the top result. And it's going to be okay. 2.6% of people said they never bring up kink with their partners.
That's just very unhealthy.
That makes me upset for you and concerned.
Yeah, that's not good.
Malicious comes up and asks the real hard-hitting questions. What if I do it wrong?
Oh, you'll get kicked out.
No, stop. How many times have you screwed up?
I screw up all the fucking time.
When was the last time, huh?
Oh, I lost the keys to some shackles when I shackled somebody. I ran to the hardware store and got an Allen wrench that was the same size as the key that was meant for the shackle. And so I was able to save the day.
Last time I screwed up, I was holding on to a bar above me and squatting on somebody who was a little tied up at the time. And my hands, of course, were lubey, so slipped, and I fell down a little bit harder than expected. I was secure.
Did you break anything?
No, I was situated enough and relaxed enough that I kind of went down and I went with it. I was like, yeah, and you're gonna stay there. And they didn't realize that I had actually slipped. I was very, very. So sometimes when you fuck up, it's just rolling with the punches, and other times it's admitting that you did something wrong and just learning from those experiences. Those are some of the most important experiences that you learn from.
And that's what blindfolds are for. Then the sub can't see you fucking up. Exactly. As long as you don't hurt someone, you're okay.
Small Y'all asks a really important question that apparently they had when they first got started, which was, is my hole going to go back to normal, or am I going to have to buy diapers?
What are they doing?
We're talking about anal, I think.
No, I got that.
Oh.
But what are they doing?
Has the fear of anal incontinence ever made it so you did not want to get into butt play?
No, but
apparently this is a big thing. But
I think you'd have to. You're talking about an experienced kink if your hole is that wide at this point. Most people's holes and the level of what people enjoy inside their holes is never wide enough to make you lose your bowels.
that said, I did add it in the survey because this is a question you guys had, and I said, has the fear of anal incontinence ever scared you from doing anal?
38% of the people they are worried about this?
They have been worried. Has the fear ever stopped you from doing anal? No was at 30.4%, maybe at around 14.4%, and I do appreciate at 17%, people said, I've never thought about it until now. You're welcome.
Because you shouldn't have to.
But so many people use the scare tactics of, oh, you're gonna need diapers, or gay people need diapers when they get older because they only do that butt sex. I want to be real in that hemorrhoids, rosebudding, leakage, tearing, and anal fissures are a thing that can happen, but those happen when you're not listening to your body
and not using lube.
And pushing yourself past what you might be comfortable with, or squeezing too much. That's how you get a hemorrhoid. When getting ready for it or while doing it.
So just relax and open up.
Yeah, just relax, bestie.
Just relax.
Just relax.
Relax.
Stop being so tense. But according to Men's Health magazine, safe, comfortable, not painful anal sex is unlikely to cause long-term damage, and anal incontinence is uncommon. Cultus asks, this is a question that I have all the time from newer Kinksters, varsity versus beginner. Where is the line actually drawn? Is there even a line, or is it just entirely subjective? So varsity versus beginner, what would you say is a varsity kink?
Varsity kink is a more experienced level kink where somebody has put in the time and effort to learn how to do it properly without permanently injuring someone, and especially something that involves pain play or blood.
But is there a line? Is there a line in the sand? I think that's pretty subjective.
And for those varsity kinks, definitely have a mentor or someone who teaches you how to do them before you do it.
Next, I think a lot of new Kinksters don't know what to do or ask what they should know, like advice for things you wish you'd known when you were starting out. So I would say don't get in your own way. Let yourself get used to things, get your feet wet before you jump fully into the pool. I think people get that frenzy and that need to do it that gets so in your face that you will turn a blind eye to certain red flags, or you'll get involved with someone that you really haven't vetted properly.
I usually ask a sub, what turns you on? What are you into?
Or what you're looking to get out of a scene. Pinpoint, be specific. You could say, I wanted some bondage, or you could say, I want to be tied down so secure that I can't move a muscle. Ooh. Maybe don't say the ooh part, but you get it. You get
Yeah, and don't be overly demanding either.
Ooh, tie me down now, daddy.
That doesn't work.
I don't know, I'm pretty turned on. How about Daddy Beef, who says, how long does it take to clean out? Okay, how long do you think our audience said?
We differentiate on this because it depends on what you're cleaning out for, Shay.
Yes.
If it's just normal coitus,
I immediately walk out from our first date when you call it coitus.
I try to be YouTube safe. It should take 20 to 30 minutes, max.
Okay. I'm more of a 30 to 45 if I have the time. I want to make sure. The outward adult Charlie Brown grumble.
There's a water shortage in California because of you.
There's also a bottom shortage, okay? I'm trying to help. That said, our audience says at 42.9%, they spend 15 to 30 minutes. Reasonable for just quick anal sex. At second place, we had about 30 minutes to 45 with 21.6%. And bringing up the rear, how many of you guys are prepping for anal sex? 20% said less than 15 minutes.
Less than for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
You are disregarding so many people that have IBS and stomach problems.
I know, but
okay, at least you know you're being ignorant to other people's problems.
I'm not saying it's the norm. I'm just saying that's me.
Anyway, if you're taking less than 15 minutes, good for you. Congrats.
Thank you.
I support you, but I scream into the void, it takes longer for some of us because whatever. This one made me laugh and cry from Hanimal, who says, why do I live in such a kink-shaming area?
Oh my God, where do they live?
Well, I didn't ask. That'd be kind of strange. But it did make me look into some kink studies from Kink D, who presented us with the top 10 US states to find kinky partners. What do you think the top 10 were?
Kinky states?
The states in the US.
California, New York.
You got 1 and 3.
Florida.
Florida's number 4, yeah.
Texas. I'm just going with large
Texas
states.
is number 2.
Yeah.
You got the top 4
Okay.
right there.
So, large states, large population. Chicago, so Michigan.
Well, Chicago's not a state, but Illinois.
No, I said Michigan.
Oh, okay.
I said Chicago. Illinois, sorry.
At number 5, Illinois, then Pennsylvania, Ohio, Georgia, New Jersey, and Michigan. And if you're not in any of those states, then you just get shamed constantly. You're not allowed to have kink. Unfortunately, if you live outside some of those cities or states, you might need to do a bit of traveling for your kink events. That is just kind of the unnecessary byproduct of living in a place that might not be super sex positive.
And sometimes you need to learn how to compartmentalize your kink. So you can be kinky at events you travel to, but at home, you're relatively...
If you enjoyed this episode, the survey is technically still open. You're welcome to add more information and other stats. Maybe we'll go in and do more on a podcast episode over on What's Your Safe Pod. Looking at some of these stats and just info for new kinksters, did anything surprise you?
The one thing that surprised me was how old people were when they got into kink. So even though I came out very young, I knew a lot of people, it took them a long time and it was a second coming out. So I don't know if the graphic was skewed by the age of people taking it or not.
And I think that's really interesting, looking at how the kink community has changed, but also how newcomers to the kink community have probably shifted drastically.
And they have so much more education than I ever did back in the 90s. And while we talk about it all the time, there's so much we don't know.
And we still haven't covered. So leave any comments, questions you might have about today's episode in the comments down below. Engage with us and let us know what you want us to talk about next time. And of course, what's your safe word? And today's safe word, Daddy, is...
Cheap. Cheap, cheap.
Oh,
Cheap, cheap, cheap.
wait, do you have to sound like a bird or do you just have to say the word cheap when you look at
I
someone's
think
gear?
just cheap, cheap, cheap.
Oh, jeez. Well, that'll stop us seeing because I'll be like, oh, how dare you? I purchased this for 45. As well as check out today's sponsor, Fume, who's keeping our lights on and making sure that we can continue making wonderful sex positive content just like this.
And if you like ringing bells, please ring that bell and you might be notified of our next one.
But don't forget to subscribe and we will see you all next time.
Bye!
Oh, and Samson's a big fat slut. Ha 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 ha, got him.